Right, when I thought I had that first time slot.
Right.
Got into a meeting that was supposed to be an email. I was like, I think we're doing care or something. Change something.
I hate when that happens.
Bro, man.
Them meetings that should have been an email.
I ain't talking about it's something I don't want to talk about in this work. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about literally like, why are we here?
Why? No, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Literally, why are we talking? Why are you doing this? You got stuff to do, and we got stuff to do.
Right.
Yeah, but
why are we wasting?
I was like, all right,
everybody's time.
I was like, okay, man. So I started looking at that because you had that image you sent me with that breakdown of change. So I was looking at that, but I'm cool with either one because I looked at this the other day too. You a college basketball guy? You watch like March Madness and anything? You know? Yeah.
Dude, Houston. What was that last possession? I mean, they were killing me the last 6 or 7 minutes of the game. Those turnovers, all those fouls. I'm just like, bro, y'all had like a total of 3 fouls in the first half. Then all of a sudden, y'all had three
hackathon.
3 fouls in 3 minutes.
Yeah, and
they were legit.
Them refs were tightening up on them, and you got to know that after you get the first 2, you got to huddle up. Be like, all right, they're coming for us.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to. They didn't.
Bad. And
then they took what I call de facto turnovers. These fadeaway threes, and you're. Nobody's in front of you, so you're open. That's not true. They're not in front of you. Are you comfortable? That's when you're open.
That's the
shooting those. And I'm like, man, if you do that and they go score 2, they're coming back. And they did.
They did.
That play at the end.
Oh my goodness.
You don't get a shot at it, and then you look to take a 3 when you could just get a 2 and tie it up. Go get some Gatorade and play overtime.
I don't understand basketball today. Everybody is all about one of 2 things. Hero ball or the 3. And I've never liked it. It's the same thing. But right before that, everybody was just all about ISO. And I hated ISO. And it was like, where do y'all think this stuff works? I mean, this ain't a Disney movie. That's the only way. That's the only place this stuff works.
Well,
other than that, dude, just drive to the basket. Draw the foul. And guess what? You might get a 3-point play out of it.
Pass the ball around. And let's just see what happens.
And keep moving. Instead of just standing there waiting for somebody to give you the ball.
You cannot, I don't care how good you are, you're not as fast as that basketball is. So if you're passing, the defense is having to do stuff. And you're not as much.
Not as much.
So you can get a better shot. This thing, when you dribble down past half court, you just take a 3. 6 seconds into the possession. I don't understand that because you can get that shot with 1 second left with possession. So why don't you try to? In Florida, they didn't fall into that trap even when they were losing. They kept running the big kid down to the middle. He turned and put both palms up and said, hey, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. And if he didn't get it, he caught out and they ran progressions.
Yeah.
U of H was doing something similar and then they quit.
Yep.
And when they did, Florida was attacking their big guys. They got them in foul trouble. And then you get to the end of that game, the lights get really bright at the end.
Yeah, buddy.
And that kid made a play. He was the one that helped them get, the lead. So they were dependent on him. And he made a play he wouldn't have ever made. He wouldn't make that play in 1,000 scenarios just like that. It was just that one time. I was like, wow. But the Final Four was good.
It was.
And that final game was good.
The tournament was not that great.
It was, because all the number 1 seeds.
It was all chalk, pretty much.
So you had a couple at the beginning where a 5 would beat a 12 or something like that. That was cool. But then it got to the point where, it was like, that was uneventful. But them Final Four games, it was great. Man.
There were a lot of blowouts.
The ladies' game let me down. That was almost unwatchable because it got so far out of hand.
Some of those scores. I didn't watch any of the games, but some of those scores were just like, afterwards I was just like, good grief, like Texas, with the way they got blown by South Carolina. I was like, what in the world?
I tell you what, that transfer portal is on fire. Hey,
it's killing the game.
Well,
it's killing college football and basketball.
Well, I think we're better off with it, but
I think we're better off with it too, but I think it needs to be regulated better.
It's the Wild West right now. It's kind of like, whatever goes. But if you decide that it's not going to be that anymore, as long as, because it has been this us versus them kind of thing. We're making billions, and you don't get nothing. You get to go here for free.
Yeah.
But there are stories about, these 4-star, 5-star guys running around there. They've run out of money on their card. I'm like, no way. And then I start talking to people, and it's like, yeah, that actually happened. I had 35 the other night, and I could not get any more chicken tenders when I got done. I had to get this girl to get me some, which is the same thing I had to do. Mm-hmm. I'm like, but you shouldn't have to do that. I'm good enough player to be on the team, but I'm not a good enough player to where people are sliding me shoe boxes when I don't need any shoes.
Right,
and there are no shoes in there.
Right.
Those guys are fine.
Right.
But I'm like the number 3 guy on the team, and so I like that they're getting paid because
I do too.
But to be on your 6th team,
be playing at 26 years old,
and this is your 6th NIL is.
Yeah.
That ain't all good. Some of that is people just saying, so. Yeah. But it's good for parity. Now it's not like this one team's going to be great for 20 years. I think that's over with.
Yeah, I think so too. No more dynasties.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be much more going on with dynasties. So Hear Me Out, the podcast featuring Bear and Big Circle.
Hey.
What's going on, brother?
Man, how are you, sir?
Brother, I'm doing good. I am doing good. We're recording on a Wednesday right now, but it has been a work week so far.
Had a couple of Mondays already?
Today was day 3 of Monday, man. This Monday to stretch 72 hours, man. I don't know what's going on.
I got bad news. It's hump day, man.
I know.
Come on, man.
Man, something got to give. Something got to give. Hey.
He's that way sometimes.
For real, though. For real.
Yes, sir.
How's it been going with you, my man?
Man, I'm cooling, man. You
want some water? Want me to get you something to drink?
I'm cool.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
And on the way over here, I got to trick myself into drinking water, man, because I'm not as good as that as I should be. So I got this 32-ounce cup, or I'll get a Route 44 from Sonic of water, even though I want the slush.
I bet.
And then I'll just sit that in there, and I think by the time we get done with this podcast, I'm probably going to be needing a break because I drank all that water while sitting in traffic, man. So no, I'm cool.
I got you. Yeah. I got you, man. Well, it's good. It's good. Good seeing you, man.
Yeah, man. Good to be seen, man.
How the boys? How the wifey?
Man, I just got a text. So my oldest, he's got what's called and you probably know about this being in the field you're in. He's got his white coat ceremony is coming up.
Oh, bet.
For him being in pharmacy school. So I didn't know what that was until, my sister-in-law is a nurse, and she had to do that, and so he's got his. And so I just got that text while we were loading up here. So that's really cool, man. So I look forward to talking to him later.
Ooh,
so
shout out to
great.
Jub
Yes,
Buster.
sir. Yes,
shout
sir.
out.
One
man.
time for my guy.
Yes, sir.
Let's have some fun. Celebrate yourself. You got to pat yourself on the back sometimes. And
yeah.
You got to go on and,
Every now and then you got that proud parent moment.
Right.
You do
No, I mean, he needs to.
Oh, he needs to.
Yeah. He needs to pat. He did the work.
I need you to do the same thing, though. You got him there.
I'm going to be there and be loud. Well, I don't know if you can be loud in those, but I'm going to be there and be overt. With how proud I am, man. So yeah, he's got that going on. We just got that text now. So unfortunately, that means you don't have to fly or drive out there. That's the not so fun part. But especially if those flight tickets keep trending the way they have been, we could do a pod on that. Man, it'd be a pretty sad one. But yeah, you got that going on, and everybody else is cool, man.
Change.
Yes, sir.
Change. I found something on Instagram. I shot it to you. That's the reason why I wanted to speak on it, man. They broke change down into an acronym, and the first part of it is confront your fears. And I like that. The C stands for confront your fears, because in order to change, that's the first step you need to do. You need to because there are a lot of people who are just like scared of change because they have to step outside the box.
Right.
And, and it's the fear of having to just redo things. And it's kind of like making you question yourself. Like, well, what was I doing wrong all this time before?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And, and it kind of it gives you the opportunity to, whenever you confront your fears, it gives you an opportunity to see yourself in a different light, because you have to be accountable for truly what you are. You have to be able to see yourself and say, yeah, I am afraid of this.
Right.
So that's, again, you have to confront your fears. That's definitely the first step. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
It's the thing is there. So if you have a destination, it's probably through that thing. And if you're purpose driven, like I guess a lot of the folks here, they are, then you have to find your way through that. And I think if you understand that, if you confront it, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're brave and the fear goes away. I think you can understand that, hey, if I'm still fearful, but I'm prepared, and if I'm dogged about this, I'm just going to go. And that's how you confront it. You also have to minimize the noise, because it can fan the flames of fear. People inputting, yes, I would like you to sustain that fear, not object, sustain and say, yeah, that's the way to go.
Right, because you're absolutely right. You hit it right on the head. You're going to have to worry about the outside noise. Those individuals who are going to just run their mouth and be like, why would you want to do that? Oh, that's a dumb move. I would never make a move like that. Well, yeah, that's you. You would never make a move like that. But this isn't about you. This is about what's best for me, or what's best for me, what's best for my family, what's best for my household, what's best for my kids, what's best for my career. So, yeah, you're right. There's levels to that. Individuals do want to step in and be like, well, why would you make that kind of move? Why would you decide to do something like that? Why not? I mean, if everybody just sat back with the narrative of don't rock the boat, don't worry about, everything's been good the way it is, why change anything? There would be no progression whatsoever.
Right.
No progression whatsoever. So... Yeah, man, you've got to acknowledge the fact that, yes, there are fears. And I like one thing that you said, too, being the fact that just because you overcome or you're able to recognize and step up to that fear doesn't mean you're still not afraid of it.
That's right. Right.
I mean, that can drive you, or that can hold you back.
That's right.
It's one or the other. Either way, there's going to be some type of change. And if it holds you back, that's a negative change. And if it drives you to move forward anyway, then of course that's a positive change.
Right. And if it's negative change, it happens today. We mentioned earlier, we've had a couple of Mondays this week. And if there's negative things going on in an endeavor, you go to sleep, you wake up, guess what?
It's still there.
It's still there. So, what are you going to do? Well,
the job still needs to be done.
It needs to be done. Or I've had a setback, so now I know that path, it didn't work out that time, but I have an idea of what I can do now, and maybe it'll work again. And if you look at the people that you were inspired by to be in that place in the first place, where you're like, well, I'm going to do that because I've seen something that lit something in my spirit to where I want to go to do that, then look at their story. Because I could assure you, they have this story where they say, well, now I tried it and this is what happened. And then I did this and this is what happened. Then I had this big setback, worse than the one you had. And then I moved forward.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you can't just sit there and say, well, I can't confront this because I'm not big enough. Or I can't confront this because, someone in my family is even saying I can't do this.
And that's where you get the majority of the pushback.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. And I tell people all the time, I said, boy, leave your family where they are if they're not coming with you. Well, that's my family. They're not involved in this part. And if they give you the why nots, evaluate the why nots. Mm-hmm. And like you said, the big why not is, well, I wouldn't do that. That's the big one. Mm-hmm. And if that's their one, you can nod and give them a pound and say, all right, man, we'll see you later.
Yeah.
And you go right on about what you're supposed to do and go get what you're supposed to get. And because they're not going to be there to take the hits. And if you take the hits when you come out on top, then the next time you have to confront it, you say, I know this feeling. These butterflies in my stomach, this fear, this paralysis. I know it. I'm stepping out here anyway. So I think it's a big thing. This is one for me. There's a couple of these on this list that are going to be for me, and this is one for me for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And this is usually the one that holds everybody back in the beginning anyway. And it's so fitting that this is where it starts.
Sure.
You know, this is where it starts, is confront your fears. The C stands for confront your fears. So it's really fitting that it's the first one, because it's usually the number one hurdle for most people. It's just the fear. The H, though, harness new opportunities. I love it. Harness new opportunities. In other words, embrace it. Embrace the change. Embrace the opportunities to do something, because not everybody gets these opportunities. I mean, no matter what the opportunity is, whether it be you and I stepping out on this podcast. Okay. I mean, this is an opportunity for us. I mean, the fact that, you know, yeah, anybody can grab a mic and anybody can get a recording app and do some editing and whatnot and start their own podcast. But I've heard somebody say before, not everybody can podcast. And I'm not saying that, yes, I know what I'm doing and you know what you're doing.
Right.
But the thing is, we're just stepping out on this endeavor, and we're just embracing the opportunity that we have to just put our voices out there.
Right.
Are we going to have 1 million followers and listeners? I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? Right now, we're looking at a pretty humbling under 100 right now.
Sure.
And I'm fine with that.
Yep.
I'm fine with that, because I mean, I'm really elated by the fact that we have this many followers and this many listeners, especially in the global span that we have.
Right.
I mean, we spoke on it before, man. We've got 8 different countries,
right?
7 countries outside of the United States.
Could be listening to anything else.
Exactly. Could be listening to anything else, but they're tuning in to us. And I appreciate that. I love you guys for that. Shout out. But peace, love, and prayers to all of you. But yeah, to harness the opportunity to step forward and just make the change that you can do, whether it, like I said, outside of just us with this podcast, it could be just with anything that can enhance your life in any type of way, whether it be a job opportunity, whether it be a promotion within that job. I mean, because you can look at the situation of somebody getting a promotion to a management position. I mean, that's an opportunity for you right there, let alone the financial side of it, but just the responsibility side of it, to be able to then step into a position where you can make a change,
right? You
know, or help enhance and better the department or the company that you're working for. You know, you could be a pillar in the industry when it's all said and done, just because you take that one step to move forward to supervisor. And then next thing you know, you're a manager, and then you're a director. And then now all of a sudden you're in administration. And now you're top of administration, like almost like president or vice president or something like that within that company. And now you're making the factor in the industry. So it doesn't take much to move up, and just taking advantage of those opportunities that you have right there could make moves for you in the future, not even just the moment, the here and now.
Sure. If you live long enough, as you know, after maybe being 17, 18 and on into early adulthood, you'll have this catalog of things, and you look back and say, wow, I missed that opportunity. I missed that one. I missed that one. And then some of those you can circle or put an asterisk by and say, that one ain't never coming back like that. Though that's a sad revelation. You don't revel in that. You can look at that and see that should be something that can help you move forward. You know, and what I like about how they said it here, how it's said, it says harness the opportunity. Harness means you secure, you wrap around something, the perimeter of that, and you got it. But it's an opportunity, which means it's something that ain't even into fruition yet. So you're harnessing something that ain't even happened yet. I love that.
I like that.
Because now in your mind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think harness, I'm thinking, all right, you know, we from Texas, so I'm thinking horses, and I'm thinking, you know, all this thing, you harness, you grab stuff, but you're grabbing a hold of something before it germinates, before that seed starts doing what it does to become what everybody likes. And if you harness that means you're invested. I want everybody to understand. You mentioned the podcast that we're working on and we're building. I don't come in here, sit down, and just start talking. We pine over what we want to put out into the atmosphere for people to hear. We don't stress. We have conversation. You know, what's let's not waste anybody's time. Let's not also lose ourselves in trying to ascend to something that may be down the line for us. So there's this balance you strike.
Yes.
But you got to harness the opportunity. Before you see what's going to happen in concrete, there has to be this abstract, purpose-filled vision of yours that it may be a little blurry, but you have to go forward. So if you get past the fear part that we just talked about and you move forward into that, you harness that opportunity. And when you see that, and when you've missed a few, you remember how that feeling was to miss it. You take that and say, no, I don't want to feel like that anymore. I'm going to wrap myself into this. There's a video going around. This guy, he's pretty famous. So I wish I knew his name. Sorry, man, whoever you are. Crediting to the anonymous guy. He says, if you spend 10 to 18 minutes a day on a particular thing that you want to have an opportunity to grow into something that you have a goal for, after a year, you're ahead of 95% of the people in the world that are interested in the same thing. Just 10 to 18 minutes every day. So, you say, well, I need a day off. Okay, well, then maybe for you, it's 15 to 25 minutes for 5 days or something like that. But if you just spent time every day, that's not an incredible amount of time. If you want to be a linguist,
in the grand
you
scheme
get in a car and you got to commute and it's horrible. Like if you live in Houston, you can relate. Or if you live in D.C. or somewhere like that, or L.A., you sit in the car and you do 20 minutes a day in Spanish or German or whatever you're going to learn, get some dialects in you. And then by the end of the year, you're ahead of most of the people in the world. You're a 5%er. So he's saying that. And if that's true, you have to harness that opportunity at the beginning by saying, here we go. I'm going to start somewhere and I'll tweak it as I go. So, yeah, that's a big one for me. I'd like to say I do well harnessing those things.
Yeah.
Which means I got a pretty good batting average because you don't get them all.
Right.
But I would encourage people, man, go after it. And again, push the noise away.
Push the noise away.
Yeah.
Push the noise away. Exactly. Because like you said in the last point, that noise is only there to feed your fear.
Sure.
Only there to feed
That's
your fear.
all it's going to do.
Yep. And increase doubt in your mind.
Right.
Increase doubt in your mind. But yeah, man, I love the way you mentioned that with the harnessing of the new
Appreciate
opportunities,
that.
man.
Yeah.
That was a good take on that where I didn't even really think about it because I saw you motioned with like you were throwing a lasso because you're right. Because the opportunity, let's use that lasso type thing because you throw your lasso. You don't throw your lasso at the horse. You throw your lasso where you think the horse is going to be.
That's right.
So that it goes. Same thing when you're throwing a football.
Right.
You're throwing the football to your receiver. You're not throwing the football exactly at the 15-yard line because your receiver is right there. Because if that's the case, your receiver is just standing there.
Right.
At the 15-yard line. You're trying to throw the ball so that the receiver is going to be in motion while they catch the ball. So if you're throwing it at the 15-yard line, 9 times out of 10, your receiver is still at like the 25 or the 20.
Sure.
So by the time the ball gets to the 15, the receiver is at the 15-yard line at the same time simultaneously, whereas he could catch the ball while in motion and keep his stride going.
That's the way to do it.
Same thing with the horse when you got to try to lasso the horse. You're trying to harness that horse. You're trying to lasso that horse down. You're throwing your lasso. You're aiming your lasso in an open area where that horse is not truly at the moment.
Right.
But you're trying to get your lasso to that point so that that horse will get there and his head goes right in through that loop and you just make that perfect tug and whoop. And while he keeps going, he tightens it up and there you go. You have harnessed and lassoed that opportunity down. Man, I love that.
I did it. That you can have that eureka moment.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody wants that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
exactly. Point A, C.H.A., not first point, but C.H.A. A, accept the unknown.
Man, that's another one I struggle with.
Accept the unknown, not
right.
accept. Because people get accept and accept mixed up.
Sound like a meme now, man.
I know, right? Accept the unknown. Accept the unknown. So that means you have to accept the fact that, yes, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. So you're jumping into this, and this is the part of I wanted to mention this beforehand when we were talking about fears, but I had to hold back about the unknown because, that's the fear of the unknown. You don't know what the conclusion is going to be. You're not 100% sure of what you're going to what you have to put into this. Shoot. You know what this is? Parenthood. You know, when you have your first kid, even when you have your you can speak on this, when you have your second and third kid too, there's still that a little tinge of fear. You got the first kid. Okay, I kind of got this game down now. I kind of know what to expect with the newborn. Right. You know, now that I had my first kid and he's about 2, 3, he or she's about 2 or 3 years old, 3 or 4 years old, 5 or 6, whatever, what have you, before you have your second kid. So you kind of understand, okay, this is what we know we're going to have to deal with. Mm-hmm. So you don't have the fear of, well, what's going to happen with the newborn? No, the fear you have now is the balance of, I got this newborn, but I still got this toddler, you know, and you've got to like, okay, I made these mistakes with the toddler, but now I know how to correct myself with this newborn. However, this newborn is different.
Right.
It's a different individual. So they may not accept what the toddler accepted when he was a newborn.
Sure.
So what am I going to do now? So there's the fear of that unknown. Of course, like I said, in parenthood, but there's also, of course, like I said, the fear of the unknown whenever you take on something brand new, like a new job or something of that nature, or a new position. When I got into nursing, dude, that was kind of fearful for me because that was a completely different avenue from, I did security for 16 years. Okay. I know what I'm doing with security. I mean, I could come in and basically do everything blindfolded. I knew the building. I knew the facility. I knew the staff. I knew faculty. I knew everything. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I mean, I was so relaxed and so chill with that. But then I went from one extreme to a completely different. And I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
You know, especially being the fact that now we used to work, you know, security at a couple of one Fortune 500 company. And then I moved on to working security at a hospital where, okay, a little bit different, but still security. It's really not that much. It's just like a different facility. There's different, SOPs and things of that nature, which makes all the sense in the world. But when I stepped from security to bedside nursing, especially at a cancer research facility, that was a completely different animal. And I'm not gonna lie, I was really fearful about every move that I made because I was just, everything that I did, I realized, you know, was at the benefit of the patient. I had to make sure that I was taking care of this patient properly and making the right moves, following the right orders from the doctors, from the nurses and management staff and things of that nature. So I'm just like, man. And one thing I didn't realize when I started working at a hospital like this, working bedside, was the fact that there's always going to be change. There is always change with policy and with procedures. And the whole theme of practicing medicine is the fact that nothing stays the same for long.
Some real-time effects happening there.
Real-time effects.
Action and,
there are
result
changes.
And effect.
There could be a complete change in procedure with how we treat a patient mid-shift. Mm-hmm. And we have to accept that and move forward with that. But again, I'm going back to the fears. So that's something I shouldn't be doing. Back to the unknown. The unknown, like I said, is it can be the unknown of so many different things, but you have to step forward into it and again harness that opportunity, embrace that, and move forward, regardless of the fact of the unknown. I can't remember fully exactly what the phrase said, but it was like you need to take that next step as if you know the floor is going to be there.
I've heard that, so we probably been listening to the same stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah. I've heard a variation of that.
I've heard a variation of that, exactly. I don't think it was exactly the same.
Wherever it came from, it definitely applies.
Yeah.
Yep. Man, I saw this one. I said, man, I'm going to have a problem because I'm going to want to talk about that. But it's, you mentioned having children, particularly having the first one, which I think is probably the better example that you can come up with, because I can remember that feeling.
Yeah.
And I remember having you have these great intentions.
Yeah.
But you're like, I don't know anything. And what I do know, I don't even trust. So that's unknown, right? It's what's a good way to quantify it? It's a bunch of questions and then a few answers. That's That's what you have with your unknown in a scenario. But then sometimes you just don't know anything. And I'm the baby of the family. So I didn't have a kid that came after me and I was doing little things. So I had my little internship in parenting growing up. Hey, stay with your little brother, little sister.
Right.
I didn't have that. So, and it's funny talking about this now because we're just talking about, the white coat ceremony for this child. It's interesting to talk about that. But, being mindful of time, I'll say this. I remember thinking I got to figure it out, and I don't know.
Right.
And I'm doing what I can to know, and I don't feel comfortable. And sometimes you don't know something is because you're just not comfortable with it. What happens? Well, the kid's got a diaper. If it's soiled, it goes away. I don't know how to change diapers that well. And then you got to start thinking, it's like, well, there's 8 billion people on this planet. They did it. You probably can do it too. The unknown thing, I think, is just you've got to understand that anything worth doing probably involves these stair steps of risk, and you can quantify it, but it's okay not to know.
Yeah. We
have a society where people will be at a cocktail party and someone is talking about something and you can kind of read the room and I'm like, that guy has no idea what we're talking about. He's nodding. He has no idea. And later on, you'll find out. Or later on, he'll say, now, what are we talking about? Like, we've been talking 20 minutes and you didn't say anything. I was like, man, this is a safe space. Say something. I don't know what y'all talking about. So it's not cool. People are not comfortable saying, I don't know. And literally my work is because I don't know as an engineer. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people. But I don't know, but I can find out. That's what they pay us for.
Yes.
It's not, and people give us credit. You're an engineer, so you must be smart. Thanks. That ain't true. I mean, it may be true that I'm smart. I don't know. You can judge, but it's not necessarily true that that's the case.
Yeah.
But I know how to get answers.
Yeah.
I know how to be, technically analytical, and that's fine. But the unknown thing, it is a crippling element of what we do, and it ties into the first one. But it's okay. And some of the most brilliant things we'll read about and hear about and news stories we'll hear in this year, the positive ones, comes from people operating in the unknown.
Yes.
It's dark in here and I don't know which way to go. Oh, well, I feel, okay, I feel that. Oh, I should go this way. And I think if you flip it and say, well, now I'm going to embrace this because the unknown is not going to go away today. Maybe I can get some knowledge or experience or some help. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing. And that's my last thing. When you say, man, I would ask for help. I want to know if you hear this all the time because it makes me just want to pull some hair out. I don't have a lot of hair, but if I could grab it, I want to pull it out. Yeah, well, it's unknown, man. I don't know. You know someone that can help? Yes, I do. Well, I don't really want to ask because then people will say, you have to ask for help. I'm like, but you don't know. So you need help. And I happen to know somebody to help. Or even,
why would you put yourself in that catch-22?
You don't know.
So ridiculous.
Right. So bonus points in here to get that pride out the way in the unknown because it's worse now. Now you're prideful and in the dark. That's a tough way to go.
And you're lost.
You're lost. So
and you're going to stay lost.
I will cut it off there, being mindful of time. But man, knock it off with that, man. Everybody's going to need help. Actually, I got something for that later on in another topic.
You mentioned something, though. You said something while you were coming off on that last piece of that monologue. It's the fact that it's the experience. Mm-hmm. You see, people fear it's the fear. It's the fear of the fact that you lack the experience, but you have that opportunity to grasp that experience. And that's what feeds your unknown. The fact that the unknown is the fact that, well, I don't have any experience in this. Well, this is your opportunity to gain that experience.
Sure.
This is your opportunity to gain that unknown and make that unknown a known. Thing is about, and I'm going to say this and then we're going to move on to the next one. Mm-hmm. Thing is about with the unknown is people don't, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to need y'all to bear with me here whenever I say this.
And you charging up.
You're ignorant. You're ignorant. Understand the definition of the word ignorance, though. The definition of ignorance is the lack of knowledge of a particular person or thing or subject.
Right.
Ignorance doesn't automatically mean stupid.
Right.
Which is what society is basically trying to warp the meaning of the word to be.
That's not what it means.
It's not what it means. I'm ignorant about a lot of things. I will embrace that. I mean, I will say that because I'm not going to be knowledgeable of everything. There are going to be I don't care what time it is, what point in my life that God says it's time for me to go home. I'm going to be ignorant about something. By the time that, whether I live only another week or I live another century, I am going to be ignorant about something.
That's right.
Okay. So there's nothing wrong with not having knowledge about one particular thing, but you have to, the only thing is wrong is not taking the opportunity to overcome that and gain that knowledge. You have the opportunity. Harness new opportunities. That's where you gain knowledge of the unknown. So no longer is anything unknown. Now you have that opportunity. You conquer that fear. You have that opportunity, and you grasp on that knowledge.
100%.
That unknown. You grasp that unknown.
Yep.
Moving on to the next point. The N in change. Never settle for less. I'm gonna let you speak on this one first.
Well, where I hear this most of the time ad nauseum is these little clips that people put together, and you've got 4 guys on one side, 4 ladies on the other. They're talking about the romantic stuff. And if you want to get a good look at something that's tragically hilarious, you take a look at that and the perspectives that come out of that. And look, and I know that sounds judgmental, but at this point, listen, we listen and we judge on this. I don't like what I'm seeing around that. I don't like that at all. I'm like, man, we're doomed romantically. And that's another discussion, maybe another podcast.
Definitely will be an episode.
But where it is, we stay in purpose driven. Never settle for less, right? There's going to be, people say I'm a good judge of character. And what that means, they take a look at you, and when you start to talk and do these things, and here's your posture, and here's what you do, they're doing this kind of sci-fi movie scan of you. They stop from the top of your head, and they come down. And they got this profile they make of you, and that is
I'm
what
hearing the 90s internet noise.
Yes, yeah. Well, that was kind of bad. That was like, I don't know, Battlestar Galactica. A Danger, Mr.
Danger,
Robinson.
Will Robertson.
It's that. That was pretty bad. I need to work on
Lost in space.
Yeah,
man, what a pull, man. What a pull.
But I mean, people will put you in this box and say, this is where you are, and here's how high you can ascend. And so your less is what I say it is. And what you should understand is, because you are here, you're a one of one, you're historical by the fact that you're alive. There won't be another you. And then you've got whatever you have. The understanding is God doesn't give everybody everything, but God gives everybody something. It's like, you don't get to do everything. Like you said a second ago, ignorant means I don't know. And you're not going to know a lot of stuff, including things you're going to want to know. But your ascension is what you can think of, what you can get stimuli from. If you're hanging around people that are go-getters, and you look at them, they're like, man, and you feel like they're doing more than you, that's a good place to be. Because if you have a humble spirit, you take that in and say, man, I like what they're doing. In fact, if they're doing something you want to do, it's even better. I remember Bill Murray was talking about how Bruce Willis was the guy that would bring in pretzels and stuff for them to do these movies. He was a grown-up when he was doing this. Yeah. And, he's around some of these really good guys. And then you see what happened with, his career took off. Bruce Willis. I think I said the name wrong, but his career took off. Okay. And he remembered that, and he said, man, I remember you guys treated me nice. And now he's running around here making $1 jillion a movie in his heyday and all that. Right. So I think that you don't have to settle. You have to decide it's something you want to do, and understand that people won't understand that. And also understand that you're going to be in a place where you have to convince yourself to understand that by some of the things we talked about, the fear, the handling of the unknown and all that. But less is not what you're here for. You need to swing for that. And then if you don't get it and you decide to pivot, that's one thing. Right. But you don't pivot before you get there. Yeah. You got to go. So don't settle. But what do you think about that, though?
So one of the things you mentioned is, like you said, God doesn't give everybody everything, right, but you do have the opportunity to gain some things because he does give you some things. Right. It reminds me of the parable, the parable of the talents. Sure. Yeah, you got the one guy who had 5 talents, another person had 3 talents, another person had 1 talent. The guy with 5 talents went out and,
Matthew 25, right?
I think so. Yeah. The guy with 5 talents went out and he doubled his talents. Yep. Came back with 10. Right. The other guy with, was it 2 or 3?
I thought it was 2.
It might have been 2.
It was less than the other guy.
It was less than the other guy. Yeah, it was less than 5. The guy with 2 talents went out, doubled his talents. Yep. Came back with 4. The guy with 1 talent hid his talent.
What you doing, bro?
Hid his talent. So when the master comes back, he says, okay, what did you guys do? Because I didn't mention this before, but the master gave one guy 5 talents, gave the other guy 2 talents, gave the other guy 1 talent. Okay, go out there and do what you do.
Right.
Okay, the master comes back. He's like, okay, guys, let's have a powwow. Report back. What we got?
Right.
The guy with 5 talents said, thank you, master. You gave me 5 talents. I went out and I doubled my talents, and now I have 10 talents.
Right.
The guy with 2 talents like, thank you, master. I appreciate the talents. You gave me 2 talents. I came back with 4 talents. It's like, fantastic. He looked at the guy with the 1 talent. He said, yeah. So, okay, what happened to you? What you got? He said, well, I only had 1 talent. I didn't want to lose it.
Got scared.
So I just hit it. Master got mad. He was like, okay, well, you know what? You give me that 1 talent, and I'm going to give it to the dude who doubled his and who got 10 now. So he gave it to that one guy. The point is, he settled.
That's an opportunity missed, by the way.
Opportunity missed.
Yeah.
Look at this. He was fearful of losing his talent. Did not embrace the opportunity to double his talent or gain more talents. Because even though the other 2 doubled theirs, it doesn't mean that they can only stop at just doubling. He probably could have gotten, the guy who got 10 probably could have gotten 15.
Sure.
You know, the guy who got 4 could have probably finished up with 8. Right. You know, who knows? But the guy with 1 talent didn't embrace the opportunity because he didn't want to accept the unknown. He couldn't accept the unknown. He didn't know what was going to happen. He was fearful he might lose his talent. So he didn't want to walk into the unknown of being able to just be able to do something about it. So he hid it, right. Settled for less. And when you settle for less by hiding it, you're not going to come back even par. You're going to come back with nothing.
He lost it anyway.
You lost it anyway. You lost it anyway. You scared that you're going to go out and lose your talent. And by hiding it, you ended up losing it anyway. So the moral of the story, never settle for less. Go out there and push through. Go out there, make the opportunity. Go. If the opportunity might be presented to you.
Right.
It's not saying that you have to go out there and force something. But if the opportunity is present for you to do something, it's sunny outside. I have the opportunity to go out and go for a walk or go for a run, get some exercise in, get some vitamin D in, some natural vitamin D in. Okay, take that opportunity and go. It doesn't say that, oh man, it's storming outside with the hurricane force winds going. I do need to go out and make some and walk and get some running in and do some exercise. And maybe I should go out. No, don't go out with hurricane force winds. Don't try to force something in a dire opportunity, in a dire situation. That's not an opportunity. That's where you lose your talent.
Right.
That's where you get scared of where you might lose your talent and probably an arm and a leg, flying trees and debris. But, you have to take that opportunity when the opportunity presents itself, overcome that fear, embrace it, embrace the opportunity and accept what you don't know what's going to happen. Accept the fact that, whatever unknown there is out there, and don't settle for less. Not everybody's going to be a millionaire or a billionaire. Not trying to say that you have to go out there and do the hustle to be a millionaire. Not everybody's going to do that. Not everybody's going to be that. Nope. But there's not enough money in the world to spread out to everybody like that. At least that's what they tell us.
It's not.
But the situation is you just have to not curl up into a cocoon curl up into a ball
what you're here for.
And live a life of fear.
It's not what you're
here for. Everybody has a talent of some kind. Everybody has, like you said, everybody has something. You may not end up with everything, but you're going to have something. You may not have all of it, but you're going to have something. And you need to take that opportunity and push through and make that something beneficial, not even just for you, but for your person next to you.
Your kids might be watching.
Your kids might be watching.
Somewhere might be watching.
Somebody. It doesn't even have to be a kid. It could be a grown man who's older or a grown woman who's older than you that can look up to you.
Yeah. I like that. I'm gonna do something with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Man, that inspires me. I'm not gonna lie. There were some used to be part of the teenage group at our church. There was this. There were a couple of kids who I actually looked up to. I'm just like, man, they really own something because I'm like, I wish I was more like that when I was their age, And I'm just like, man, I'm proud of them because they're making moves that will put them ahead of the game or ahead of me at least, when I was their age, so that by the time they get to my age, they should be leaps and bounds.
Yeah, you love to see that, man.
Yeah,
That's
you love
inspiring.
to see that. Which brings us to the next point: grow with every challenge. You love to see growth. Love to see growth. I love it when I see. Again, I work with. Well, I don't do bedside nursing anymore, but I used to love it when I see my kids, my patients, because I used to do pediatric oncology. I used to love it when I see my patients do well. I see them grow. I see the kids develop, because we get kids from all across the world, and some of them couldn't speak the language, couldn't speak English or anything. And of course, they're just in a completely different environment. You bring them from one hemisphere to another hemisphere, one country to another, one time zone to another, and they don't understand what's going on. All they know is that their parents are scared because, they have this dire situation going on with them physically, medically. And you have these strangers keep coming in and out of your room all the time, and they're wearing these masks, and they're poking you and prodding you with these needles and these probes and whatnot. And it's sometimes they're putting you to sleep when you don't want to go to sleep, and they're taking you in for surgical procedures, and it was a lot, and making you, and you're supposed to be sick. And we're giving you this medication. It's supposed to make you feel better, but initially it's going to make you feel even more sick than what you are right now. It's going to put you in pain. Cancer is a beast. And the treatment of cancer is just a beast as well. So, oh goodness. But anyway, I digress. But sometimes I would see like some of these kids, you would see them become a little more personable, a little more open, a little more embracing of their new environment. And they understand, sometimes they get to a point where they understand, okay, this is what life is right now. This is what I need in order to move forward. And you see some of them, like there was this one girl, couldn't speak a lick of English, spoke nothing but Spanish. And then within like 2 months, this girl starts talking to me, and I'm just like, wait, what?
Right.
Like, what? She learned English in like about 2 or 3 months, and she's starting to talk to me because she's watching TV. Mm-hmm. She's taking these little small children's classes for learning English, and it was just so amazing. You have to remember how, the first 5 years of a child's life, their brain is the most absorbent at that time period. Mm-hmm. And this girl, when I say she used every pore in her sponge, she used every pore in that sponge. And I mean, that girl's brain was overflowing. And it wasn't just like she spoke English like it was broken English. No, she was speaking English as clear as you and I.
Conversing.
Yeah, conversing. And I mean, she's using slang sometimes too. And I was just like, my baby. I love it. I was just loving it. These kids, they were just so great. But the growth, when you see your own kids, I mean, when my son, the more he would develop, even still to this day, he's 14, the more that he would develop, the more he would learn things. I'm just sitting back. I'm just like, I remember when you couldn't do this. I remember when you couldn't do that. Something as simple as growing in height. At one point, when I first moved in here, that boy couldn't reach the little string on the ceiling fan.
Oh, that's not a problem now.
No, that's not a problem now. Because I asked him, this was maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I said, hey, make sure you turn the light off before we leave. And he was like, hey, remember when I couldn't reach that? And I was like, I know. It's the small things. I thought about it before he even said anything, and it's just, and I know this is just something simple because it's only growth, and growth happens as far as physical growth is concerned, but it's just the fact, the growth of every challenge. When you put yourself in a situation where you can grow, because you speak on it with basketball. When you were growing up, you had to learn how to become more physical in the post, because there were guys who have been playing in the post much longer than you have, and they were grinding you down. They will knock you down. Every time you try to go to the basket, they would knock you down. And you got to a point that I'm pretty sure at one point, I know I did, whenever I would play basketball with the guys in the hood and everything, I get knocked down. I'm kind of like, man, do I want to go back in there?
No, if I want any more of this.
I don't know if I want some more of that smoke.
Right.
Because they bringing it.
Right.
But then you have guys on your team who are encouraging you, like, man, take it to them. B, you got this. Big O, get him, man. Mm-hmm. You got this. Mm-hmm. So what's Circle going to do? Circle get the ball, or Circle get in position.
Coming back.
He get in position. Somebody get the ball to him. He backing it. You toss that elbow, you lower that shoulder, you go up strong, flex your muscles real quick as soon as you get up, and you bounce, and you come back down with authority.
I mean, well, you might have to do some other things before that happens. But
eventually you get there though. That challenge is what drove you to get better.
Right. Because the issue is you're not going to quit playing. Right. No. You don't, well, I've had a bad day, or these guys are like the Monstars from Space Jam, so I ain't coming back.
Yeah.
And then you go and deflate your ball and go home. You don't do that. You take your ball home, you shower, you go to bed, you come back out to the court again. And what that means is there's a destination in which, you feel like you're going to keep knocking at that door. And sports teaches you that. That's why, when people look at sports as a thing where it's just exhibition, it's sad that they think of that way. There's so many life lessons in that at any really level. Even as a grown-up, if you're a professional in sports, you can learn a lot.
Yeah.
You could look at Vernon Davis, how he talks about Mike Singletary and how he was at first.
Yeah.
And how Mike Singletary was just, scorched earth. And he talks about it now like, man, if he didn't do that, I probably would not have been what I needed to be later on. I hate that I didn't catch that before. I
heard those interviews before that he's had about that. Yeah.
Sure. And he has a humility now he did not have at that time.
No.
It wasn't none of this talk. He wasn't feeling Singletary. Singletary wasn't feeling him. And by the way, Singletary was like, I ain't feeling none of y'all because y'all are not meeting the challenge. Mm-hmm. And that did not make him popular. But it did not make him wrong. The growth part is you have to decide that I'm not going to stay here. I have to have an ascension posture, whereas I'm here, I am going to go up. Whether the trend is like a rocket taking off or it's this jagged thing, like my stock is going up, but it's taking a while.
Right.
It has to happen that way. I remember there's this piece of a video of a documentary where Harry Belafonte is talking, and he said, in addressing his career and all the challenges that he had with that, he said, these people and these things are going to present you with an ultimatum.
Right.
You have to do it this way or you lose, or you have to do this or you lose, and then you never come back. He said, when you present me with an ultimatum, I said, no, I have options because I work very hard at what I'm doing and I'm meeting these challenges. I'm taking these L's and I'm moving forward. And he said this, he said, I have an answer. I have a destination that is an answer for what your plans and thoughts are of me, in paraphrase. So he's like, I have an answer for that. And I have a destination, and you can't comprehend that because I'm going there even though there is a roadblock there. And his roadblock was racism. And his roadblock was, doing films that actually are good art and getting music out that's good art that some people may say, I don't want to do that. This is my company. Do what I want.
Right.
And he said, I have an answer for what your thoughts are for the destination in which, this path I'm traveling. And so I think that's what you got to have. That growth is, I'm not going to stay here. That's the thing. Even in the unknown, that's the thing is like, I ain't staying here. So for this thing, I think over there is where I'm supposed to be. It's still dark in here, but I think I'm supposed to go over there. And then you have to be dogged about that. Mm-hmm. And sports will teach you that because in between downs, you got to make a decision.
Yes.
And in football and with basketball, man, but at some point you just wake up one day and you're just like, well, I'm not losing to him again. You roll your sleeves up. And if you mean that, you can make that happen.
Every play in football.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the lovely thing about football. That defense. I love playing defense. I just love hitting people because it was the fact that, okay, they trying to go forward. I'm trying to hold them back.
Right.
And every time they get the ball and they run at me, sometimes they're going to run over me. I got to get right back up and I still got to do my job. I got to make sure that they don't move forward again.
Right.
And it's one of those that it's another step. It's a new challenge every play.
And they don't want to let you do that.
Every play. Yeah. That's why you gotta be a dog. You gotta be built to play football because it's one of those knockdown, drag out fights. Mm-hmm. Every single solitary play. Every time they snap the ball. Every time they snap the ball. But you're right, that growth, like you said, it's that moving forward. Even in let's just use the tunnel for example. That tunnel is dark and there's people like, oh yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Well, the tunnel doesn't always mean it's always going to be a straight path.
Right.
Because that's what people always think. They're just like, oh, yeah, straight path tunnel. Like, no.
I think Indiana Jones.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly. When they were in that mine cart,
right.
it's going up, down, left, right.
You can't see that from the outside.
You can't see that from the outside.
Yeah.
It's like an anthill.
Right.
Have you seen the inside of an anthill?
Yes.
The inside of an anthill has so many intricate tunnels everywhere.
Right. It's not just a pile of dirt.
No, it's not just a pile of dirt. It's a maze. It is an actual maze. You don't know what. You can make a left right here, and you don't even realize that's going to dead end.
Right.
So you're going to have to realize, okay, that's a dead end. I got to turn back around, and I got to go back and go back towards where I came from. And it might have been a challenge right there. Mm-hmm. And you got to still move forward, and you got to try to find that light at the end of the tunnel, because eventually you will find that light at the end of the tunnel. But there's going to be twists and turns and ups and downs that gets you there. So you're right about that whole growth thing. You have to keep moving forward. You have to keep moving up. And like you said, just like with the anthill, just like you said with the stock market climb, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to levitate for a little bit. It might go down again, then it goes up again. It might be a sharp increase. It might be a sharp decrease, or it could be just a real moderate increase. It really, or moderate decrease. It's never going to be the same, but every challenge is going to be different.
You got to forge that path.
Exactly. But every challenge is going to make you better and stronger. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. And finally, we get to the E in change, C.H.A.N.G.E. Confront your fears, harness new opportunities, accept the unknown, never settle for less, grow with every challenge, embrace the transformation. Because after all of that, if you do all of these things, there will be a transformation. There will be a point where you grow and you change and you become better, become more mature, wiser, however you want to look at it, whatever that particular thing is that you are trying to do, you will become different. You will be different. Nobody goes into change to be the same. There's going to be a difference. I mean, it's the whole point of the word change in the first place.
Right.
Because you've already done so much as it is just to confront, the fear of everything that's you're stepping outside of your safety zone. You're stepping outside the box. You're harnessing these new opportunities. You're going forward. You're moving forward, accepting the unknown, because you don't know what the end result is going to be, or even what's going to be part of that path. You don't settle. You don't settle at all. You don't settle for less, because with change, you have to become greater. You have to become better. So there has to be some form of improvement, and you grow with every challenge that helps you bring you along towards that improvement, and you embrace that transformation, knowing that you're a different person now.
Yep. I think about Oprah Winfrey, right?
Oh, wow.
She goes to Tennessee State University, right? A lot of people don't know that's where she went to school, and she gets a job. She's working at a news station, and basically they say, "Look, you're black and you're too big to really make it." And so it's racism and body shaming all in there.
And plus she's a woman.
Right. So she's got this triple crown of issues going on, right?
Was that late 70s, early 80s?
It must have been the late 70s.
Yeah.
Because we know what happened in the 80s.
Yeah. She blew up.
Yeah. But before that happened, she said, I knew that, all right, I'm going to leave. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to have my own show. I'm going to do these things. And nobody was doing that. But she saw her transformation from a really, really dark place.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of unknowns flying in. You don't have a job anymore. And what your career is, you need to have people paying you so you can do what you need to do. But she embraced it before she saw it. And I think that's one thing you can do.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, too, with the harnessing. These new opportunities, you see that and you can grab it. But you can see yourself not being yourself as Planet right now anymore. You're like, well, I'm going to be different. That doesn't mean I'm above, I look down on people. It means I'm not the same. The point is to change. I hear people say, well, you get where you're going, you should stay the same. Why would you do that? If you're going to be the same now, as you are a few years later, Muhammad Ali talked about that. If you're the same man you are 20 years ago, you just wasted 20 years. Right. Like, why would you be the same?
That's a fact.
Right. Now, what people want you to do is stay the same because they want their thumb on top of your head so they know where you are and you do what you want them to do. It makes them comfortable. You're not here to make anybody comfortable. Mm-hmm. You're here to fulfill a purpose. If you're spiritual, you know that you have to fulfill a purpose and you're a kingdom builder. If you're not, then you're here for something.
Yeah.
You know, hey, man, you're sucking up our oxygen. Do something. And so that transformation, you have to say, look, I am going to go for it. I'm going to be this. You know, and I remember talking to a guy and he was doing really well. I said, man, this is when I was younger. I said, man, you know, you're doing really good, man. You're making all the money. He said, somebody got to do that. I mean, there wasn't any humility in that, but he wasn't, you know, like talking above. He's like, yeah, I am going. And he does great things with his money. But what I mean, he just takes money and goes to the community and just does stuff.
Yeah.
So he ain't running around here like, I'm just spending it on me. I got these little trinkets. I'm taking pictures. And that's all I'm about is I actually can really put on a bunch of expensive clothes and things. That's what my life's about. I'm going to die. And that's what's going to be my legacy. I'm going to be the best dressed guy at my funeral. He's not that guy. Right. He's, yeah, I want to make a bunch of money. And yeah, I want to help the community. And that's what I want to do. And that transformation, though, he said he had to have it. He's like, I can't be what I saw growing up. And what I kept hearing out of my household and with my family, with my cousins, was that you need to be like us. And I can't do that.
Right.
You know, the quick story, being mindful of time. My mom talks about this and didn't tell me this until I was grown, that how she ended up going to college was a recruiter came through her town, a very small town. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they were looking for people to go to school. And they were in her community looking because in that community weren't a lot of people going to school for obvious reasons.
Right.
At that time. And, you know, I think
small town, Southern black people.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're not going to school. You go to work.
You're going, yeah.
Right. Exactly. And there is a wide group of a wide cut of the population that said that's exactly what you need to do. And my mom was like, I don't want to do that if I know it's another opportunity. And they came to my grandmother's house, knocked on the door and said, we understand you got, you know, children that go to XYZ high school. They're eligible, you know, talk about going to college. Would you like to do that? She raised her hand and said, yeah. And that next day she jumped in the car with these people who didn't know anything about college and went. And that's how she started her career as a teacher. And then she got a master's degree, and that's how it worked.
Talk about harnessing the opportunity.
Sure. Yeah, she's just like, I had
the
to
living
go.
embodiment.
Right. And she said, but I could see myself working and then becoming that teacher. That transformation is going to happen. And when she got there, she had opportunities to do anything else. She said, no, but this is the thing I want to be. I transformed into that, and I am that. And she didn't tell me that until I was grown. And I was just sitting there with my mouth open. I was like, what do you mean? She said, yeah, your situation was, you know, we talked and we taught you that. She said, but at my time, I had to jump out the window and really give this a try. And I was very scared.
Yeah.
But I wasn't scared enough to where I was paralyzed. And she set it on fire. Man.
Wow.
So
wow. Your mom is the perfect example. That situation right there is a perfect example of the whole word, the whole acronym.
She is one tough cookie.
She confronted her fears, harnessed the opportunity, accepted the unknown,
I wouldn't
never
have done
settled
that.
for less, grow with every challenge, and embraced her transformation. Wow, mom hit every note.
She hit it. And I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
At 17. I'd have been in the back like, well, nah, you know, I don't really know what that's about. But she was like, I gotta do this because I've got to transform into this thing I think I can be.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't happen. I mean, she had to work and had to do things, and she went to grad school. It took my older sister. She takes her in there. She's a baby, and she's in grad school with the kid. She's doing all these things. But, you know, I'll digress on that. Maybe we'll talk more of that in another part, but I'll keep mindful of time. But, yeah, that transformation, man, and that's the one I would have left off of here in my short-sightedness. But it has to be there.
It has to be there.
It has to be there.
Because it's the end result.
That's the end result. I don't, you know, you think you get there, and that's it. But now things are different. And so if you don't handle different better, you go back to the talents and maybe lose because you're not handling this this championship you just won.
Right.
You know, and you have to do that because then you can see what's next. You can see how to make the community better with your transformation. So
absolutely. Wow. I think we spoke on some good things today.
This was cool, man.
This was really cool. I appreciate that. Change. Confront your fears, harness new opportunities, accept the unknown, never settle for less, grow with every challenge, embrace the transformation, which is the end result. I encourage everybody to go get it, man. Go get it.
Everybody listening, sometimes it's all about you, man. Go get it.
Yeah, go get it. Go get it for yourself. But go get it for those out there who love you too. Go get it for those who support you. Go get it, again, for yourself, because you are who matters. If you don't want to do it, or if you can't see yourself do it, don't try to force an opportunity that's not there. Don't try to force yourself to do something just because somebody else told you to do it, because that's not you doing it for you. That's you doing it for somebody else who wants you to live their life.
That's right.
Don't let somebody force you to live their life. You don't want anybody to try to live through you vicariously. That's something that I want to make sure that I don't do when it comes to my son. I know, Big Circle, you're the same way. You don't want to do that with any of your sons. Be like, hey, well, this is what I did, and I want you to do this because my son, whenever he was younger, his jam was soccer.
Let's go.
And I was like, I know nothing about soccer. So you know what I started doing? I started learning about soccer.
Yep.
And when he wanted to sit down and watch a game, we're going to watch a match.
Yep.
All right, we're going to watch a match then. Mm-hmm. Cup was his thing. Things changed though. But so it's just like, I'm not going to, like, well, man, I play football. Why don't you want to go out there and play football? I'm not going to do that. That's not what he wants to do.
Right.
That's not what he wants to do. So I'm not going to force anything on him. You should not let anybody force anything on you. So if you're out there, if you're listening, you make moves that make you feel good, that are going to help you make a transformation, that is going to help you grow from a challenge, that you want to do because you don't want to settle for less. Even though you don't know what's going to happen and how it's going to end or how you're going to get there, you just jump on that opportunity and you face that fear.
That's it, man.
That's it.
Don't wait till they tell you you're great. Know it now.
Know it now.
Can't wait till they tell you.
Exactly. Don't hide your talent. Go out there and double it.
How about that?
Big Circle, good talking with you, my man. Glad you were able to make it out.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we greatly appreciate you listening to this episode of Okay, So Hear Me Out. Please reach out to us on Instagram at Just Bear With Me. I'm sorry. Please reach out to us on Mondays. Instagram. Okay, so Hear Me Out _podcast. And you can reach me on email at justbearwithmepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Make a great day. Peace, love, prayers.
Awesome.